Matt here with Keeping It YYC. Today we're joined by Annette Hill with Informed Paralegal Services. How are you today, Annette?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. We'll get right into it and we'll have you tell us a little about Informed Paralegal Services.
Yeah, you bet. We are a small paralegal services firm. We operate entirely virtually, so we serve all of Alberta. And our main focus, as far as areas of law, is civil and family law.
Okay. Do you do any traffic tickets or anything like this?
You bet. We have a sister company called Ticket Busters, and we fight all sorts of traffic violations, both personal and commercial, throughout Alberta as well.
Okay. So you basically represent those people in court, or how exactly does that process work?
We do. We appear on their behalf as court agents, which is different from being a lawyer. We cannot offer legal advice, but what we can do is negotiate on your behalf, deal with the prosecutors, examine the evidence, walk you through the court procedures, and essentially, for most matters, take over entirely and broker the deal on your behalf.
Okay. Nice. I'll have to remember that for the future for myself. A little bit too heavy on the right foot sometimes.
Fair enough. I think everybody's gotten a speeding ticket. We have one prosecutor that we deal with who boasts about having two framed ones on his wall. So even the prosecutors get them on occasion. To err is human.
So when you say civil matters, you can help out with, obviously not give legal advice, but can help out in the process. What's an example of civil matters some examples that you can give me of that?
We often see disputes. Sometimes money is owed, sometimes workmanship is faulty. It could be any number of things. So the magic number for small claims court here in Alberta is $50,000. Anything above that goes to the Court of Queen's Bench, where we cannot appear on your behalf or speak on your behalf. So we do primarily small claims court, provincial court civil, and we can run those matters from start to finish, including trial. So obviously the goal is usually to resolve matters before they even arrive in court. But when that's not possible, we primarily focus on assisting folks with their small claims.
Okay, so in small claims court, what is too small that it's not worth dealing with essentially? I'm not really sure.
I think that's going to vary from one individual to another. Sometimes it's not even about the money, it's about principle. And so that's for everybody to weigh individually. It's a great deal of time and effort and energy to go through the litigation process. It's extremely stressful. Even if you do hire somebody to assist you, it's still going to weigh on your mind. So that's certainly something to consider, whether it is worthwhile to put yourself through such a stressful experience. And we try to minimize that by explaining the process, organizing materials in such a way that you're set up for success. But at the same time, we can't relieve you of the emotional burden that these matters sometimes result in.
Yeah, I figure that's enough to deal with in a lot of these situations. It would really help to have somebody guiding you throughout the process instead of having to try to learn it all yourself.
That's right. They do call small claims court the People's Court. So it is set up for self-represented litigants. And so we're always happy to assist with portions of a matter. If somebody just wants a consultation, somebody wants help preparing for trial, if somebody just wants their matter of their claim drafted and they want to file it on their own and proceed alone from there, we can do that as well. So we like to say that we can do as much or as little as your budget allows. And there's essentially, beyond our 2-hour minimum, there's no matter too small to assist with.
Okay, cool. So lots of options then. My next question is, what are you doing to adapt in this current environment?
Well, funny thing, as I said at the beginning, we've operated virtually since day one. So the only real adaptations have been with some of the systems that the courthouses have put into place in dealing with matters. that first quarter of COVID was really tough on all businesses. Everyone I know who was a business owner had a really rough go of it for that first quarter. So during that quarter, we focused more on marketing and building relationships and massaging current relationships. So we did a little bit of building the bones of the business over that time when things were slow. Luckily, things have picked up a bit now, so hopefully we'll be back to how we were in no time.
Okay, so didn't just sit on your hands during the slow time, really try to push things forward that you could control.
Yeah, you bet. You can't sit idle. You know, that's not how you progress.
Absolutely not. So next question is, what can people do right now to support local?
There's a number of things that don't cost a penny. I would say the number one thing you can do is follow, business pages, tag them on social media if people are seeking recommendations, write a Google review if you haven't already. All these things take a minute, but they help small businesses so much more than I think the average person might understand. There's a lot of stock put into other people's opinions of you and your work. So we can tell you all day long how great we are, but it means a whole lot more coming from clients who have actually utilized our services. So that's one thing that as I said, doesn't take much time at all, but really, really does help.
Yeah, myself, I definitely look for reviews before I utilize a service or buy a product, for example.
Yeah, you bet. I think everyone does. And especially when you're dealing with a legal matter, you don't want to just pick the first, necessarily the best or the first search result, when after doing a search. You want to definitely do your research and ensure that in this unregulated industry, the business you're dealing with is a legitimate business with licensing and insurance and everything else in place to protect you and to assure you that you're going to receive what's promised. We actually use a written client agreement as well, which isn't required of us, but we find it helps set out the terms of each agreement and really does help keep those lines of communication clear between us and our clients.
Okay. So do you have any tips and tricks that you can share in relation to your expertise?
Yeah, you bet. I mentioned that we work with self-represented litigants. I love self-represented litigants. I think it's admirable to take charge of your own legal matters. And it really is quite rewarding as well if you do manage to prevail. So what I always say is, although we can't offer legal advice, I would say the best way to set yourself up for success is to keep a really good paper trail. And so I often suggest that you start a note in your phone. Everybody's got a smartphone nowadays. And, we're all so busy that you might not remember all of the pertinent details of your matter all at once. So if you have it going as a note in your phone, as soon as something comes to mind, you can note it, add it to that note. And then you'll be well prepared when it comes time to draft your claim or deal with your matter. And the other thing I would say is, whether you're hiring us or hiring a lawyer or self-representing, organizing your materials is probably one of the more important things. The more organized you can be in terms of scanning your files, having everything in binders, having everything very well organized and easy to navigate is the best way to save money when you retain someone to help you, because then they can review the materials with ease. And B, it'll allow you to easily refer back to the evidence you're looking to use and the facts of the matter, which will save you time in the long run for sure.
Okay, so that just helps in the review process and getting it going and reviews on both ends. Yeah.
People often shy away from legal matters and push them to the back burner because there's often a lot of paperwork involved and it can be cumbersome and it can be the last thing you want to deal with on top of your regular everyday responsibilities. So that's why I would suggest, printing the materials you intend to use or saving them as files on your computer and just organizing them in such a way that they're easy to review. You don't want to walk in, similar to walking into an accountant with a shoebox of unsorted receipts, right? You want to walk in organized and prepared to discuss your matter, and it'll save you a lot of time if you do that for yourself or for those you retain to help you.
Okay. Well, that was great advice. Doesn't sound like fun to do, but sure it would help.
For our personality type, it is fun. Yeah, it's like putting a puzzle together. So,
Well, speak for yourself.
engineer.
How dare you? That's actually all the questions that I had prepared for you, Annette. We do ask
Okay.
you an interview by looking at the camera, stating your name and your business name, and asking people watching to keep it local, keep it YYC.
Okay. I'm Annette from Informed Paralegal. Keep it local, keep it YYC.